Hello, and welcome to Constructive Conversations, a podcast where we aim to bridge the gap in communications between contractors and customers. Joining me today is Sarah Kirkpatrick, owner and principal designer of Unshelf Designs. Sarah, thanks for joining me today. It's a pleasure to have you.
Thank you so much. I'm excited that there's a podcast about the construction industry, an honest one in Calgary.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, I hope lots of people are.
Yes.
So thanks for coming. And can you start off, tell us about your company, how it started and how you got into the industry?
Yeah, so my company is 4 years old currently. I actually owned a marketing company for 9 years before I jumped into interior design. I actually just started it because, well, a short, sad story. I lost my mom about 7 years ago, and I was having a hard time finding joy and pulling myself back up. I got really into work and working on the marketing company. But as I grew that, I ended up putting together, a home office and growing my business, and really found that the spaces that I created around myself had a huge impact on my mental health and how I was healing and what I was going through and the success that I was seeing in my business. So I really just started looking more into that and the spaces that we can grow into. In that time, I also flipped 2 homes. And so I really just sort of came into interior design pretty organically. And thankfully, I had run a business for 9 years, so it wasn't too hard to jump into a different kind of business and something that I was just more passionate about.
Oh, that's a great way to start, is organically like that. So it's something that was helping you personally, and you said, "Oh, I can do this for other people."
Yeah,
Uh-huh.
exactly. Yeah.
That's great. So I'm very interested in what you said about how the spaces around you influence your mental health.
hmm
Can you talk about that a little more?
I think that it's twofold. Life sometimes gives us lemons, and I think that by creating environments around us at home, we are able to nurture and heal ourselves before heading out into the world. And how you feel in your home is going to be a reflection that you put out into the public. But life also gives you a lot lemonade, and you can build the life that you want, and it's sort of like dressing for success. You
Mhm.
you can style your home and make it feel uplifting to be who you want to be and the lifestyle that you want to have. And whether you have money to do a full construction or not, if you have moments in your home that make you feel powerful, more successful, happier, joyful, whatever it is that you're seeking, then that is just an energy that you're able to take out of the house. And it just all starts there. So I just love the idea of creating a space. Who knows what's happening out the doors when you can come home and feel hugged. That's our big thing. If your house is hugging you when you walk in, you feel that embrace. It heals anything that was outside that door, and it's your safe place. So we want to give people that.
Awesome. I like that the moments in your home. I like that term.
hmm
And then yeah, so that's the idea. You can you sort of said you can improve your home to where you want to be, or you can improve it and then that'll sort of bring you back there as
hmm
as sort of like a reset when you get home, and that's your sanctuary.
Exactly.
Uh-huh.
Yeah.
Cool.
And there's different places in the house where we focus on different things. We're big onto the bedroom being more of that sanctuary, a place that you relax and spa, and it's your quiet space. But maybe something like your living room is that higher end luxury vibe that you get to walk into and be like, yes, this is great. I'm gonna have my friends over. Like, I'm gonna impress people with this space and make me like elevate your social status depending on what your goals are. But there's different areas of the home that can serve different purposes. It doesn't all have to be just one goal for yourself.
Cool. So can you walk us through, what does that conversation look like with someone when you're determining, okay, this is what we're going to do with these areas?
Yeah, so I mean, my first question is always, how long are you going to live in this house? Like,
Hmm.
do we have to consider resale value? I just did a project where we turned a formal dining room into a wine tasting room. So it's not big on resale, but for that client, it was all about, he was going to stay there for a long time. It was more about the entertainment portion and the lifestyle that he wanted. And so, yeah, we started by saying, okay, you're going to stay for a while. So let's really talk about what in your house you want to be able to put out into the world. What do you want to bring in? What makes you truly happy? If you could come home and one room was just everything you wanted it to be, what would that room be? And I don't always get wine tasting like a
Mhm.
Tuscan wine cellar, but in this case I did. But yeah, a lot of the times it's a little bit of creative thinking. People aren't used to hearing that. They don't think outside the box when I ask them the question. They're just like, I want to function for my family and look nice. And we have to dig a little bit deeper to find out exactly what that is. And it doesn't have to be extravagant. It can just be a space that's, functional, a couple extra chairs so the kids can all come and have popcorn and all see the TV, and it's just layout changes. So there's just things that we just have to pull out of them on
Uh-huh.
what those dreams are.
Yeah, yeah. So digging deep into their dreams.
Yep.
Awesome. And what does your typical job look like, or your sort of your customer? Um, is it, a full scale renovation? Is it just one room? What's sort of the scales that you work in?
Yeah, so we do residential redesigns. So I don't engage in new builds or commercial, nothing major construction. It's really about taking what you already have and reloving it. So it can be full renovations down to, tearing out floors and adding wainscoting and wallpaper and more cosmetic, lots of furniture, decor styling. So we will do one room if it's a larger room, and we don't really have a minimum, but we have lots of, designer for a day services where we'll just come in for 6 hours and do as much as we can in that day to make it just feel that's much better for you. So anywhere from that up to, yeah, full guts pretty much.
Uh-huh.
Yeah.
That sounds like a fun day. Just sit down for 6 hours and be
It
creative
is. Yeah.
and come up with ideas.
It is.
Awesome. And so we met at the Reno show
Hmm.
in Calgary here, where you had a great display. You had two rooms like fully set up and staged. Can you talk about those and sort of describe like how you put that type of thing together?
Yeah, so that was really a representation of our strength, and what we do is
Mhm.
taking some core pieces and how you can make it look totally different. So not changing any structure, keeping everything the same and just doing cosmetic upgrades. So in that case, we had the same core pieces of furniture and showing how you don't have to change out your couch and your big area rug, things that are more expensive, but you can do a total redesign around them and make it look totally different if your tastes change. So there's ways that we can work with what you already have and give you a totally new look. And yeah, so that one was very kind of a stately wallpaper, paneling, fireplace, like different layout golds and one certain look. And then the other one was a lot more earthy. We had like a textural wall that was actually a paint with sand in it to look like plaster, and it just was a lot moodier and cozier. And we had people just kind of no official tally, but which one they were more drawn to. And then they were always surprised to hear that some of the furniture was the exact same in there, and just
Uh-huh.
it's so unexpected. So
Yeah,
yeah,
that's a great way to help people understand you don't have to tear everything apart and start from zero
yeah,
to make substantial changes to how the space feels.
yeah. And
Awesome.
I love older homes. Like I grew up in an old bungalow, and I like taking those old homes and just giving them new life. And you know,
Hmm.
I do that with decor and accessories. I'm always looking for pre-loved items, antiques that I can incorporate in. I think that it gives a space soul. If you just start putting a bunch of new home scents and just brand new stuff in there all the time, it feels more like a show home. It doesn't feel like a home. And so the way I do that with homes and the same way I do that with styling is just trying to incorporate old with new. Yeah,
Uh-huh.
it's like a new sustainability without worrying about solar panels and
Yeah,
all
yeah,
the things,
absolutely. Yeah, you don't have to go get newly produced goods.
Yeah.
Is that something that you do? Like, do you bring a customer with you, or do you get ideas from them and then go out and pick items for them?
Yeah, so unless it's the designer for a day, which we go out
Mhm.
together, I go out and source everything for
Yeah.
them. So I'll come up with a full design plan for the larger design scheme and all the furniture, and then for styling and our accessories, I just kind of do it on my own, having an idea of their style and bring it in at the end. So
Mhm.
yeah.
Okay, and for the audience members who haven't used an interior designer before, and they might think, oh, I don't have a multi-million-dollar house. I can't. I don't need that. I'm not there yet. Can you talk about sort of like when it makes sense to call an interior designer and to have them be a part of the project or part of the work that the changes that they're trying to make.
I mean, the day to call an interior designer is the day that you walk into your house and you don't smile. You walk in and you just don't get that, I love it here. And that doesn't mean that you can immediately go and do a full reno, like you said. It might just be bring someone in for a consultation to give you some ideas on how to improve it so that you love it a little bit more. Maybe it's just putting up a beautiful wallpaper in your entryway and a really nice rug and things that you can do on your own. But just having that outside perspective for a design eye so that when you walk in, you kind of feel that hug, that smile. But definitely if you are considering a renovation of any sort, I know a lot of people call the renovation company first. We always say call the designer first because we work with the renovation companies. We have to come up with the plan before they can quote anyway. And we can get to know sort of those more detailed whys on your space before you just start slapping things on walls and tearing the floor out. So always start with a designer if you're planning a bigger renovation.
That's great advice. So call a designer as soon as your house doesn't feel like a big hug when you walk in.
Yeah, yeah. I did a
Uh-huh.
consult yesterday and we were walking around the house and the lady was like, "Oh, this room is kind of just my junk room. Ignore that." And I was like, "Whoa." So this is where we need to start because this is an entire room that you have now just written off in your house. So how can we make this room not just a junk room that you close the door and forget? Because when you walk past a room like that, and it happens all the time in consults, you're like, "Oh, I just get so much anxiety in that room. Let's ignore it." Let's not ignore it. Let's
Yeah.
start there because that could be the best room in your house. And I don't ever want someone to be in their room or into their house and have anxiety about a space. Like, let's make those spaces. So, yeah, that's usually when I stop people. It's like they don't want to stop there, but that's where I'm going to make
Yeah,
them
yeah,
stop. Yeah.
that's great. You point them towards their pain point.
Yep.
And I'm sure they appreciate that once that area gets turned around. And like,
Yeah,
oh wow, it stops occupying a mental space. Where you go,
exactly.
I have to consciously ignore this all the time.
Yeah. And that's
Uh,
like every woman listening to this podcast is going to understand what mental load is.
oh yeah.
And having an entire room dedicated to mental load is
Hmm.
a barrier. So we definitely want that to clear out.
Hmm. Okay, great. And then, so you mentioned talking to a designer before you call the contractor. The question is, like, sort of, what happens if people don't do that? What sort of outcomes are they going to get if they just start tearing out the walls? Like, have you seen sort of what goes on there?
Yeah, I mean, thankfully, there's enough GCs and renovators who will bring in a designer.
Hmm.
But just know that I mean, you can't not work with a renovator directly, but usually the design lands on you. GCs
Hmm.
are not designers. They're going to say, here's a couple tile options, and they're usually white subway tiles or whatever was like on the sale rack or front and center, but it's not going to be really cohesive. Or they'll say, tell me what flooring you want, what tile you want, what countertop, like you give me all it and we'll put it together. But that just leaves it all on you. And it's not even that everyone can't do design. Design is such a personal thing. You can certainly walk into a tile store and be able to pick the one that you like. It's just that it's a cohesion thing. If you start going into stores and picking, I like this tile and I like this floor and that's a cool paint, you could end up with what looks like a garage sale in your house. Undertones are very important, especially with paint. If you pick, creamy colors and your couch has like a pink undertone and your countertop has gray veining, but then the walls that you choose have a violet undertone, it's just going to be so overwhelming. So you really have to be able to see the cohesion. And also it's just design fatigue. I mean, how many tile stores are in the city? I could probably tell you because I've been to all of them
Yeah.
and it takes days to get around, but it's really just not it's just too much time and all of the little things you have to think about. It's not just the tile, it's the pattern on the tile, it's the layout of the tile. What grout are you going to use on the tile? Do you want it to be contrasting? Do you want it to not contrasting? That's just your backsplash. Let's move to the next thing. And
Mhm.
so we really help, the designer helps kind of take all of those tiny ideas off. It's not that you're not part of the design and you're not going to be able to pick your favorite tile, but you don't have to think about the thousand other things that come from that. So
Yeah, so you're really taking a zoomed out perspective where you say it's not just about making one decision point, it's how does that affect
mhm.
everything else that you're choosing.
Yeah. Well, and
But
even with what
mhm,
you do, I mean,
mhm,
having like a wainscoting, what do you want the trim to be? What's the baseboard going to look like? Do you want it to be on an MDF board? Is this going to be decorative in here, or do you want it to be boxy? Like when someone says, I want paneling,
Yeah.
there's a million little details
Yeah.
that we have to pick. So,
Yeah.
and they're very different looks. If
Mhm.
they say they want that and they want this, very different styles.
Mhm.
And unless they have the knowledge or have the time to walk through and make those decisions, then they might end up with what they didn't actually envision. So,
Mhm.
yeah.
Yeah. So do you find a lot of your time is sort of educating about, yeah, this is why we have to, pair things together in this way or sort of make things congruent, and like, yeah, what do you do sort of to educate your customers in that sense?
Yeah. So the way that I work is I will put together one design plan. I have found over time that people are looking for me for my ideas anyway. If I come to them with 3 or 4 design options, they're going to just say, well, I kind of like these ones, but what do you think? So now I just present one idea that I believe is the very best for the space based on the conversations that we've had in the past. And then we just change out a few things. I did a presentation last week where the client wanted what they wanted was more modern than what the house could actually hold. It was a very traditional house with crowns and arches, and the concept board that they gave was very black and white and modern. And I was trying to explain like these two things, it's like lipstick on a pig. You can't just put black things into a traditional home and say, yay, we're modern now. And so it has taken a little bit of process to slowly integrate a few things, but show them, you know, while we can have a couple black metal light fixtures, we still need to make sure that the floor tile is classic so it doesn't stick out like a sore thumb. And so sometimes it's a little bit more of a conversation. They wanted just different options. They're like, we don't love this light. Can we have 4 other options? Well, I can't just give you 4 options for this light because that might not match the other 6 things in this space.
Yeah.
So instead, I put together 2 other design packages. And I think
Right.
that's the part it's more time for me to put together more design plans, which is fine. I'd want them to make sure that they love it before they invest in it. But it's not just about swapping things in and out, because I can give you 6 options, but then each of those 6 options has to come with its own matching sconce, and that tile doesn't go anymore. And then what did we do in the dining room for a pendant? Is that still going to incorporate and be cohesive room to room? And yeah, so sometimes it's a bigger conversation, and clients want to see, I mean, realtors would understand. Clients sometimes just want to see all the houses before they know they've made the right decision, and that's okay. But it's just going to be a little bit more of a process to get that way.
Yeah, I like that. Now, it comes as a package because everything's interconnected, works together.
Yeah.
So then they can just look at multiple packages.
Yeah.
So you mentioned like you come up with the ideas, and you also said earlier that you'll help the clients avoid design fatigue. Can you talk about like your creative process and sort of where do your ideas come from and how do you generate those?
So Instagram. No, actually do always start. I open up a Pinterest board for each client, and I just start looking for things and things that I feel vibe. And this is what I recommend clients do. I love when they can send me a Pinterest board with a ton of images that they like. And it doesn't matter to me if they understand. I don't tell them to try to understand how these things will work in a house or how they fit together. If they put 40 images in, I can usually see what the similarities are and what the strings are between those pieces so that I can incorporate those. And then I do the same thing on my own. I start looking through pictures of living rooms, dining rooms, whatever, and pulling things in and then getting ideas. Oh, I don't really like how this room looks, but I love that, there's a slab back with that one, and then the coffee station's a different tile, or, I can pull ideas that way just to start getting it thinking. Instagram is great too for just idea generation. And then I start going to the stores, depending if it's a renovation, going to the tile stores, just getting an idea of what's out there. Me and a few other designers every month do a product knowledge day. So we go to different vendors, 3 different ones in a day, and just get to know what's new, what's coming out in the industry, what's going to be popular, so that we can always kind of stay on top of trends that way. Yeah, and then I just kind of open Canva and start pulling stuff in and see what works together. So it's a little bit, I'm a creative, so sometimes it's hard to nail down. Sometimes you're like, 2 in the morning. Oh yeah, that quick,
Yeah,
write it down.
yeah, and it
So
comes to you.
it's a little more organic sometimes, not like a set process, but I do really like to gather all the images and knowledge first.
Uh-huh.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think I've seen the on Instagram that like that group where you've all been at an event, and
Yep.
that's good to stay up to date with the products that are coming out.
Hmm.
And so talk about sort of like what's new, what's coming out, what's the cool, the latest things, trends that you're seeing maybe.
Yeah, so I mean, I'm more of a classic designer. I don't
Mhm.
follow like the trends. So I like to have clients invest in things that'll increase the value of their home, such as built-ins, millwork, wains, like things that are actually going to be an elevation for the home. But we're definitely getting into more organic, natural products. It's been over the last year or two, you'll still have seen it. We're getting away from the stark cold modern into what is termed wabi sabi, which is just like the appreciation of raw natural goods. So you'll be seeing more of the brick, raw brick flooring and backsplashes, which you have to seal, of course, and just softer lines. Lots of the new porcelain countertops have just a beautiful soft watercolor vibe to them, and it's just kind of about creating a warmer experience. Still brasses, warm neutrals. And there's just lots of new technology coming out too. I love lighting, so lots of
Mhm.
different lighting options, windows and door options. There's a new product that I'm putting in a client's house for a glass door that has the auto frosting
Mhm.
for it, and now it's going to be built into the full front, like a front entry door, big piece of glass that they can choose the privacy option for. So love that because window treatments either, I mean, front doors, it's either frosted or it's not, or like you don't really have window treatment options. So this is going to be a really nice one. But
Mhm.
yeah, there's just to pick the industry. There's a million things coming
Yeah.
out, but yeah, it's really exciting to just hear about them. The last PK that I was at, I actually picked the hardwood that we were there for because I had a project where we were taking out old hardwood, like original hardwood. It unfortunately just wasn't in good shape anymore. I
Yeah.
love to keep hardwood if possible, but we had to swap it out for an engineered. The problem is that most engineered hardwood, unless you get into wide planks, which I don't like for a more traditional older home,
Mhm.
the narrower planks usually are not as wide. So if you put in an engineered, now you're gonna have to remove all your baseboards down. Your casings that are already pre-cut on your doors have to get recut to drop that extra
Yeah.
length. And so this hardwood that I found was a 5 inch with a 3/4 inch depth. And so it was the same as the hardwood. So
Nice.
we didn't have to change any of that. They had so much millwork already in the house that it was just going to be an absolute nightmare to have to adjust. So I'm very happy. I only learned about it while we were sitting at that PK. She showed a sample. She said it was still on the container and they hadn't even like
Uh-huh.
got it off the boat. It's not on the website yet. So we're pretty much the first house in Calgary putting it in, but I wouldn't have known about it had I not gone to
Yeah.
that.
That,
So
that's great.
yeah.
That's great. And I like you mentioned that the technology that becomes more available, like the frosted walls. And I remember seeing a video about Bill Gates' house 10 years ago. Wow, he's got automatic lights and you can tell the lights to turn on and off. And so like the technology becomes more, affordable and available to everyone else.
Yeah, now
Is
we all have Philips Hue bulbs.
exactly, yeah. And Alexa's turning everything on
Yeah.
everywhere. Can you talk a little bit about like technology? Like what sort of technology do you like to integrate or have you seen that you like that people and that they might not know is available that they can use?
Yeah, so I usually leave the lighting technology to the experts. I kind of give them an idea of what I would like to happen, but I am in no way a techie, so I'll touch lightly on it.
Yeah.
I love the idea of different layers of lighting and the option for your mood, again, how you feel in that space. So we just finished a walk-in kitchen, like a walk-in pantry that was a secondary kitchen, and just having under cabinet lighting that, depending on the time of day, would turn on at different colors when you
Oh,
walk
nice.
in, so that when you walked in bright and early in the morning to get your coffee, it's not super bright and
Yeah.
horrible. Like it was just this beautiful warm glow under the cabinets. But if
Nice.
you're walking in around dinner time or on a weekend and it's the big overhead lights because you're probably getting kids
Mm.
snacks and things ready to go.
Yeah.
So I think it's a lot about just those really simple automations. It doesn't have to be crazy. And I do have another client who was way more techie than I was, so I was just trying to keep up. But he was full into all the automations, like 50 different times a day had its own thing. Like these lights would come on, and then the microwave would go. Like, like it was crazy how he had this smart home set up. But it really was like if he leaves his bedroom to the moment he walks out the door, his whole day is automated. And it's kind of crazy, but when you actually start letting go of that stuff and it just allow your home to support your day, that's just one less burden for you. Even me, like as super basic as it is, I have my bedside lamps dim at 11 o'clock telling me that it's about time to start getting ready, and at 11:30 they go out, and so I'm in darkness if I'm not in bed. But I just kind of, instead of having to check, I'm watching TV too late, little things like that, just simple Philips Hue automations, they can really enhance your life. And it can be anywhere from like that, just a basic light dimming, to your whole day is planned out in automation. So yeah, and lighting is usually a lot to do with it. So
yeah, no, that's great. I'm sure that's helpful to people who haven't thought of that. My lights turn off in the morning when I have to come to work. So,
yeah, that's
so
good.
I stop reading whatever I'm looking at. Yeah, no, that's great. Yeah, what are you looking forward to this year? Like, do you have projects on the books? What is this 2024 looking like for you? And we're recording on February 21st.
Yeah, so we are finishing up a few furniture projects. This year, my goal, we were saying earlier, is I want to build a library. So if anyone has a library that they would like built out, I want to do that with a sliding ladder and just a full, beautiful built-in. But I'm really excited I really found my niche in doing the redesign, cosmetic redesigns and furnishings. And so I'm redoing a website. When you start a business, you're kind of like, well, I'll do design and, all of the things. And then you sort of realize, well, first of all, with my marketing background, even though I knew that niching is better, it's scary sometimes, but that's really what I'm good at. That's really what I love to do. And so I'm excited to just start focusing more on that, reloving older homes, furnishing for people that have moved in, not worrying about, if someone calls for a new build, sorry, I have someone else for you, or you have a commercial design project, I have someone else for you. Like, I'm really focusing now on what I love and what I'm good at. So I'm excited for that, and just creating really unique spaces for that, for, like, as we were saying, creating spaces that hug that person, totally different from what they thought that they could do in their house. So I do occupied home staging, which is it's less of my business than design, but it helps me understand and helps me explain to clients what is going to be good for resale and what's not. So kind of balancing that a little bit. But yeah, definitely need to get a library in. But
okay, yeah, I'll keep an eye out. I'll keep mentioning that to customers. But no, that's great. That sounds like an exciting year, and I can appreciate the focus at what you like to do and what you're good at. That's what we do with trim. We say we're only doing trim. We're not a general contractor.
Yeah,
We're
exactly.
just finished carpentry.
Yeah. We actually just did last year a house in Cochrane. Those older homes, not older, but even like 2010 homes, it's brown, there's dark, it's all dark and brown and little square tiles everywhere. And I had a client that moved from Ontario, and they bought a house that was worth less than they could afford so that they could renovate it and make it their own. And so that's what they purchased. And it just looks so different. What we were able to do we had very similar paneling all up the whole stairwell that went over and up over their bedroom.
Nice.
We retiled their whole fireplace, backsplashes, the kitchen we just painted and added a new countertop, so we didn't tear it out and gut it. And the before and after photos are like night and day. And just to think that instead of having to build a new house, you can take these older homes and just do a cosmetic change, and knowing that you're purchasing a house, which is why I love working with realtors. And I really want to start working more with realtors, actually, I thought I only had a couple days ago. So new thought for your podcast, but really focusing more on and working with them with people that want to buy something for less and renovate it to what they want. And especially with this market, I mean, it's hard to get
Hmm.
the house that you want for what you
Yeah.
want to spend. So that's really what I love to see, those transformations, and just helping people be able to insert their own personality in what works for them rather than just trying to paint the walls and make it work for now. So
Yeah, no,
yeah.
that's a great idea. And
Yeah.
then that's good to talk to realtors so they can be proactive and suggest that to the client. Say, hey, instead of trying to find, that needle in a haystack, just you can make it. You can make
Mhm.
it happen.
Exactly. And the
Uh-huh.
difference in cost pays for your renovation.
Yeah,
So, and it's
yeah,
exactly what you want.
uh-huh.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's great. That's a really good idea. And anything else you want to cover?
No, I think I know a lot of people ask, like back to the resale,
Hmm.
how do I update my home for resale versus
Yep.
what's going to make me happy? And I think it's sort of a 5 year seems to be the happy timeline. If it's going to be within 5 years that you like when your mortgage is going to renew, that you may be leaving the house, we don't want to do anything that's going to be too particular, like a wine tasting room instead of
Yeah,
a dining room.
yeah.
But there are still ways to increase the home that you feel better in that will also have great resale, such as, changing out laminate countertops to granite, or not granite, to quartz,
Mhm.
or changing out old granite to newer quartz or porcelain, and things that are going to lighten and modernize and freshen your house while you live there. Those are good investments to make in the house so that when you sell it in 5 years, you've actually increased the value. And there's not only just physical value, but perceived value. So
Mhm.
even though you may not be able to raise the house price this exact same amount, the people that come into the home are going to fall in love with it more. The perceived value of the home will be higher, and they are more likely to place a higher bid or to go one step farther in a bidding war, or just put an offer in general because they have that emotional connection. So that's where we have to take budget, and I work with realtors a lot. Like
Mhm.
what can we put into this house that we are going to get back? What are the comp support in this area? But anything after 5 years, I say make it your own. 5 years is
Uh-huh.
a long
Yeah,
time to be in a house.
yeah.
Like you're staying there for a long time, and that you can do a lot in 5 years. Imagine how far you could get if you were in a home that supported your success, that you felt so good about, that when you went out into the world, you just had that extra kick, that extra spark, that extra smile. You felt supported. Your home office that you put some money into really empowered you, and you're successful in your business more so than you thought you could be. That's 5 years that you could do that in. And that maybe would make up for all of the money that you could potentially lose selling the house. But you were that much happier in the space in that time. So if you're going to be there for 5 years, let's think about what you want to do and what you're going to absolutely love in that. So
Yeah,
yeah.
absolutely. No, that's great, and definitely the value's there. Like if you love the space and it's lighting you up when you come home and when you leave in the morning and you're happy to be in there, then that's definitely going to be the value. So I think that's a great suggestion.
How do you
Um,
feel in your home?
yeah, I was gonna say we can do a live demo here. So we're gonna be there 5 years. We just moved in December,
Oh,
and so
awesome.
we're planning out. We have I think 16-foot ceilings in the living room, and there's a fireplace, and it's got nothing. So I want it all rift white oak shelving, and maybe the sliding ladder if we can get it in there.
Come on.
Yeah, yeah. But no, that's yeah, definitely
Are
to
you
think
going to
ahead to
stay in
five
five
years.
years or you're leaving in 5 years, do you think?
Yeah, the plan is to leave in 5 years.
Okay.
Yeah, so
So what can we do to
uh-huh.
increase the value without deterring too
Yeah,
many
yeah,
buyers
without
in the
deterring
year? Yeah,
people.
yeah.
Uh-huh.
And
Yeah,
why are you moving in 5 years?
yeah. So my wife is a resident. She's a doctor, and
Okay.
she'll be done her residency in 5 years. So chances are we'll be moving.
Hopefully to a
Yeah.
bigger house then.
Yeah, yeah.
A little more
Uh-huh.
established. Yeah.
Uh-huh.
Okay, makes sense.
Yeah,
And
yeah.
that's a good thing to think about too, is not only if you're going to be moving, but why you're going to be moving. Is it
Hmm.
because you don't think this house is enough for you? Is it, it's good for now, but not maybe forever? And can we make it forever, or is it too small? Is it something functional or physical? You're going to want kids, and then you only have one or two bedrooms, and whatever it
Yeah.
is. If it's a growth thing, no problem. If it's just the design, maybe that's something that we can change, because I don't know, the show Love It or List It. They always want to leave, and then they see how the house can be.
Uh-huh. Yeah.
And I get that all the time too. When I stage a house, people are like, "Oh my God, maybe I'll stay. It looks
I
so
don't
good
want to
in here
sell.
now."
Yeah, yeah.
And that
Uh-huh.
actually also don't wait until you're selling to make it look
Yes.
amazing.
Yeah,
Like
absolutely.
people say that all the time. I wish I had done this 5 years ago when we lived here, and
Hmm.
do it then. Like imagine thinking that 5 years ago. Well, do you want to be thinking about that 5 years from now? Like this is
Hmm.
that time that you can start making yourself feel amazing. And even if it's just one room, if your house is a little bit chaotic and you just don't have the money or the time to worry about it, focus on one room that you can
Hmm.
exit into.
Yeah.
Close the door and breathe out.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's the oasis.
And it
Uh-huh.
starts to spread from there. Yeah.
No, that's great. And I've heard also that your house isn't really your home until you've addressed, every room, gone in and looked at it and said, okay, is this how we want it to be? Is that something like you would agree with, or what are your thoughts on that? Like that you have to touch everything, right? And to make it yours.
I would say that that is accurate, but I don't think it has to be in a big way. I think that even something like decor, artwork, or even just paint in a
Hmm.
room can make it your own. I think the only thing is when you go into a new house, does it feel like you're moving into someone else's house that was there? Oh, that was here when we got here.
Hmm.
Do you like it? No, then change it. But if it's something that you already like when you move in and maybe it was one of the reasons, then that already is a reflection of you. So it doesn't matter that you didn't change anything. I think it's less if you touch something and more if there's something lingering from the past that still isn't your style. And paint is, we call it gold in a can. Like it just
Hmm.
changes the space so much. It's super inexpensive. You can do it
Yeah.
yourself and it can make a space feel totally different. And you don't have to be afraid of color. My bedroom is navy blue walls, all four walls. It's super dark, it's super
Yeah.
cozy. We have another room that we did an emerald green all the way onto the ceiling, a full color wash, which is
Nice.
actually another trend coming right now is color washing a room, which
Hmm.
is sealing all the walls similar colors, like just full or color drenching. Sorry, it's called
Uh-huh.
color drenching.
Uh-huh.
And it just kind of it gives a really cool feel and look in that space. So, and it's super cheap to do.
Yeah, cool. And it's easy to undo too. So you can
Yep,
always
very
just
tough.
change it, paint over.
Yeah,
Uh-huh.
exactly.
That's cool.
Uh,
Color drenching. Yeah, that's
Yep.
that's new to me. So
Yeah, and
awesome.
yeah, that's a big one this year. I think they're talking about it at the Reno show on the stage, but
Hmm.
and I love marketplace, so you don't have to be able to go out and afford crazy things like there's
Hmm.
lighting is huge. You're going to move into houses that have I call them boob lights.
Yep.
Those really
Yeah.
horrible builder basic lights
Hmm.
and signature lighting has a clearance section and marketplace there's
Hmm.
people selling light fixtures all the time. I mean, all of the houses that we put lights into, my clients are selling their lights on
Yep.
marketplace, and some
Yep.
of them are beautiful light fixtures that just weren't their style when they moved in. So you can get really affordable lighting as well and make a huge difference in your space. So yeah, I love I'm always on marketplace. Like,
Yeah.
do I need this hutch? No, I don't have a garage. Maybe a client does.
Yeah. Somebody needs this.
Someone might need this. I
Uh-huh.
should get it.
That's great. Okay, and then as we finish off, can you give some tips for our listeners? So if they want to pick up the phone and after hearing this and say, okay, yeah, I do want to have a conversation with a designer,
Mhm.
sort of what are some questions they should ask and sort of to screen and decide who they're going to work with?
I mean, you can always ask the process, check their website out.
Hmm.
Really, the key is, do you like that person? Like, get on the
Hmm.
phone with them, have a discovery call, do a consultation. Most designers have a free discovery call, and the consultation is paid, but affordable before you dive fully in. We're going to be in your house. We're going to be in your bathroom, in your
Hmm.
bedroom when the bed's not made, and hanging out in the living room with your kids. Like,
Uh-huh.
we're going to be in your space. So you have to
Yeah.
like us and we have to
Yeah.
like you. So it's a lot of conversation. There's lots of different processes. Design is not a very standardized industry. So how people charge and how people work in the process of things is very different. So see if you're comfortable with that. But a lot of it, in the end, check out their aesthetic, see if you like the vibe, their personality. And I think that means a lot more than what you're going to pay for it. There's obviously a big difference between huge design firms and sort of your independent designers for budget. But I think a lot of it, once you find your category, it's really a personal thing. And I think
Uh-huh.
people are too focused on price or what
Hmm.
they see on a portfolio. Because
Right.
I can tell you that my personal design style. I don't have a client that wants that style, so it's not even on my website.
Uh-huh.
My clients' projects are on my website, and they're all very, very different. We're going to go
Yeah.
from Tuscan wine room to like country cottage to like colorful farmhouse, you know. So just talk to them about their flexibility and ask them, you know, personal, not super personal questions, but you know, about them and their who they are. And yeah,
Mhm.
you know, I get a lot of feedback about our process. We do a 15-step design process
Mhm.
so that every step is very thought out. So how I like to work is that the function of my business, we have an operational excellence core value. It's very streamlined, but me as a person, pretty hopefully friendly, you know.
Yeah.
I'm not like a really staunch, like go by the book kind of hard ass kind of
Mhm.
person. As long as I have my processes that are the foundation for a successful project, then I can be more friendly. I can be more, you know, personal. On our about page, it's like Sarah as the designer and Sarah as the human being.
Uh-huh.
So, and that might not be for everyone. There's so many. I have friends in the city, lots of different designers, very different styles. Some are extremely sophisticated and like I can't even stand as straight as those girls. Like they got their shit together, and
Uh-huh.
I'm just not going to be that person.
Yeah.
I'm kind of a little bit more free-spirited and giggly and bubbly, and that might not be what someone's looking for in their space. So kind of decide what vibe you want to be
Yeah.
and to have around you.
Yeah, no, that's
Yeah,
great. So then the people can go and find the personality that fits with them. So you
exactly.
fit a certain niche of people, and the other ones will fit well
Yeah.
with others,
And that's
with
why
other
we,
customers.
me
So
and
that's
all the
great.
other designers, like we get together. There's no competition. We're all very different. We all have
Yeah.
very different styles. I mean, that's kind of the scary part of design. You know that if someone hired another designer, that room would have looked totally different.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
So you're like, well, this is the room that I'm giving you.
Uh-huh.
So it's a lot less like my marketing where it was like, oh, you'll kind of get the same look in social media posts, but in
Hmm.
this case, very different.
Yeah.
So yeah, we are very collaborative, the designers. If I have a phone call and they're like, we have 2 other calls this week, I'll message like, who's talking to these people? And we're like, good luck. Hopefully it's one of
Yeah.
us. Like, yay.
Yeah. Nice. That's
And that's
great.
fine. I'm happy to lose business to any of those designers. So
Yeah.
we're all really great people.
That's
But
great.
I think that's a good way to vet who you're going to work with.
Mhm.
And you know, we apply those same rules to our trade vendors.
Mhm.
I literally, it's fresh in my mind because I just updated our website yesterday.
Yeah.
But you know, the term core values is just such like a yucky business jargon, like, oh, my core values, let's put them on the wall,
Yeah. Very
whatever.
corporate.
Yeah, very
Mhm.
exactly. But when you actually think about it, like ours are gratitude and joy, operational excellence, communication, collaboration, you know, kind of generic words. But when you actually think about how you apply those to who I'm hiring, who my tradespeople are going to be, do they have gratitude for work? Do they have good communication? Are they willing to collaborate, or do they try to hoard everything for themselves? And same with clients. I want clients that are happy and bubbly and grateful for beautiful design and the opportunity to work with us and open to communication, and they're not like holding things back wondering if we'll miss it or find out, you know. Open, that those values are really how we make sure that we're a fit and they're a fit for us as well. So I think it's important to understand, not necessarily ask, so what are your core values, but
Uh,
get a feel for what they could be and see if you're in line with them.
yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
Yeah. So you're saying for you that like that's the core values are a core driver of how you actually operate, and then that influences like the employees and you and how you work and the type of customer. So it's really sort of defines the sphere that you work inside of.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, so that's definitely important.
And it's
Yeah.
scary sometimes to be like, well, I have to turn this client down because I don't think they are in line with us.
Yeah.
But, and it feels bad sometimes, or I don't think we're a fit.
Hmm.
But it would be selfish. It would be both, two things. It would be selfish of me to take the client because if I'm not the perfect fit for them, I'm actually stripping them of the opportunity to work with someone who is the
Hmm.
perfect fit. And also, I am now filling that space with someone who maybe could have been a perfect fit, and now someone who may have been able to work with me cannot, who would have really benefited from having our services. So I do really try, even though it's like sometimes really hard to be like, that would have been a great. I really try to just be honest and say, you know what, I think there's someone better for both of us that could fill this space. We're both going to be happier. working with someone else, and I'll give recommendations if I think that client would be good to work with. If they maybe it would be a nightmare, I might just say good luck to you and tell everyone like careful. But yeah, so I think it is important that it's a fit both ways.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, no. So that's selfless of you to say, yeah, no, we're not going to do this just, to create work. We'll find a better fit so that you can work with someone who's a better fit to work with you, and they can find someone that's a better fit for them. So
and it's also selfish because I don't want the problems that are going to come from saying yes to a client I shouldn't have.
Yeah, exactly.
When they're like pissed 4 months down the road, and I'm like, sorry, I never was like, I never claimed to be that person. So
yeah, no, that's great. So where can listeners find you? What's a good way to reach you, contact?
Yeah, so our website is www.unshelfdesign.com. We are on Instagram mostly. I'm on stories a lot, and I do have YouTube as well. So I do a lot of public speaking, and so you can see me speak about this type of thing, loving your home, and that's all on our YouTube channel. But pretty much if you want to see me, it's on Instagram. But if you want to work with us, we do have that discovery call booking link and the consultation right on the website. So linked we're very big, like I said, on automations and process. So it's very streamlined to be able to book a discovery call or consult right through the site into my calendar.
Awesome. Yeah. That's great. Yeah. Well, thanks for coming on the show.
Yeah.
It was a pleasure speaking with you.
Thank you for having me.
Yeah. Thank you. Thank you for listening to this episode of Constructive Conversations. Please share it with your friends who are contractors and customers, people who have done big renos or builds or who have them coming up, so they can learn how to have the right conversations around their construction project. I encourage you to follow the podcast because we have some very great guests coming up. We're aiming for 1 podcast per week, so make sure you're following. Thank you again for listening. Have a wonderful day.